For millions of years, early human beings walked the earth. We migrated across continents, built fires, and survived. But we left absolutely no record of our thoughts or our names. It is a massive void of unrecorded time. That silence broke around 3500 BCE in Mesopotamia, thanks to a sudden leap in agricultural technology. As seen in this ancient clay figurine, the Sumerians developed the cedar plow, a heavy wooden blade that dug a trench and dropped seeds at the exact same time. They also attached it to another recent invention, the wheel. Farming became highly efficient. Scattered agricultural villages began producing massive food surpluses, and those surpluses allowed populations to explode into the world's first megacities. Places like Uruk swelled to house up to 80,000 people. To manage that incredible scale, they built towering mud brick ziggurats, like this one, rising high above the plains, which served as central hubs to collect taxes and distribute food rations. But you cannot run an economy of 80,000 people using human memory alone. The temple administrators were drowning in data about grain, livestock, and labor. They had to invent a way to write it down, forcing humanity to cross the threshold into recorded history out of pure administrative necessity. Humanity's first written words arrived around 3400 BCE as a tool for accounting. They were the cold, hard spreadsheets of temple administrators. This is a proto-cuneiform tablet. Temple administrators created these early records by taking a cut reed and pressing it into wet clay to draw simple pictures of the physical inventory they were tracking. To total up these massive inventories, the Sumerians used a mathematical system based entirely on the number 60. This animated breakdown shows exactly why a base 60 system is incredibly efficient for ancient math. Our modern base 10 system can only be divided evenly by 4 numbers, 1, 2, 5, and 10. But 60 can be divided evenly by 12 different integers. If you need to distribute rations among a large workforce without creating messy decimals, 60 makes the fractions much cleaner. That specific mathematical logic was so highly effective that it survived the collapse of Sumer. It is the exact reason why, 5,000 years later, we still have 60 seconds in a minute and 360 degrees in a circle. So at the very beginning of the historical record, our view of humanity is essentially in low resolution. We only see the stark mathematical data required for collective survival. Over centuries, those simple inventory pictures evolved. As we can see on this much later tablet, the writing morphed into true cuneiform, highly structured rows of wedge-shaped marks that could represent complex phonetic sounds instead of just physical objects. Mastering this advanced system required years of study in institutions called tablet houses. This created a highly exclusive class of scribes who held a complete monopoly over law, administration, and communication. Armed with a system that could express abstract thought, Sumerian scribes began writing down the oral traditions of their people. They invented recorded literature, capturing their origin stories in clay. The Sumerian king list is a stone prism recording their history. Upper sections claim early kings ruled before a mythological flood, with impossible lifespans, up to 43,200 years. Lower down, past the flood narrative, reign lengths plummet to accurate spans of 10 to 30 years. The timeline of humanity is literally gaining focus. We can watch an ancient civilization use their new technology to write their way out of pure mythology and into documented political reality. As those mega-cities continued to expand, their borders inevitably collided. The populations needed more resources, and that meant fighting over the highly fertile strips of land between them. Around 2450 BCE, a bitter dispute erupted over a specific tract of borderland called the Guadina. On one side was the city-state of Umma, on the other, Lagash. The first historically documented war is recorded on the Stele of the Vultures, a massive limestone monument celebrating Lagash's victory. It depicts the king leading a phalanx of shields and spears, marching over trampled enemies, while vultures carry away severed heads of defeated troops. This record chronicles the violent, propagandistic nature of early states. It shows a civilization transitioned from tracking barley to documenting its own survival through conquest. By 1800 BCE, literacy trickled down from the exclusive domain of generals and kings into everyday society. The historical record enters 4K resolution. In these daily records, we find that Sumerian society ran almost entirely on beer. Because local water sources were heavily contaminated by livestock and waste, boiled fermented beer was the only truly safe, sanitized beverage available. It was so vital to daily survival that it functioned as a liquid currency. Temple administrators actually paid daily wages to laborers using rations of beer and grain. They even worshipped a goddess of brewing named Ninkasi. Scribes recorded a piece of music called the Hymn to Ninkasi, which doubled as a highly practical musical mnemonic device. By singing the song, brewers ensured they would never forget the exact steps of the recipe. At this level of detail, the kings and conquerors fade into the background. History finally reveals the actual working-class citizens of the ancient world, people just trying to survive, get paid for a hard day's work, and enjoy a drink. And sometimes we get to see their frustrations. In 1750 BCE, in the city of Ur, a petty copper merchant named Ea Nasir conducted some highly questionable business with a customer named Nani. Nani was furious. He dictated a scathing clay tablet to Ea Nasir, complaining that he had been sold subpar copper ingots. He accused the merchant of treating his servant with contempt and keeping his money without delivering the proper goods. Here is the punchline. When archaeologists eventually excavated Ea Nasir's house, they didn't just find Nani's complaint. They found dozens of similar clay tablets from different angry customers piled up in his rooms. For some inexplicable reason, this man kept a meticulously organized, physical archive of his own terrible business practices. He hoarded thousands of years-old hate mail. The Sumerians left behind the wheel. They gave us the plow and our concept of time. However, their most enduring contribution remains the preservation of their own reality. By freezing their thoughts in clay, the Sumerians bridged the gap of prehistory. These tablets prove that ancient humans were driven by the same epic ambitions and petty grievances that define us today.